Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new episode of The Crew Review for you.
For you.
For you.
We are back here another week, another episode. There's Carson and Jennifer. They're about to duck out here in a little bit, but they'll be back. We did Ocean's 11 last week, and we're doing Ocean's 12 this week. Surprise, surprise. As we move closer and closer to the date of when our theaters reopen, which
big day.
Depending on where you live, I don't know if it's different. We have Regal Theaters in Greenville, South Carolina, and it opens August 21st. So we're hoping to
1 week from today.
Yeah, 1 week from today. So we're hoping to get back to it after we finish this Ocean series. But we're very excited to get back into theaters and to review the latest and greatest or not so greatest movies. Anyway, how was everybody's week?
It's been great. It's sunny. Still enjoying summer.
Great.
Cool. Enjoying the warm weather.
Yes.
But ready for fall. I'm feeling fall in the air. I saw fall decorations this week. Did anybody see that yet?
Yes, and they've been putting out. I've seen a few hints of fall coffee and food, and I
was about to ask Beth, when is? I know it's probably on your radar. When do PSLs come out? I get it confused because her occupation is SLP, and I always say that. PSL, when did they come out?
Well, it's usually around Labor Day, so we've got a couple more weeks. They haven't officially announced it yet, but I feel like the announcement's coming soon.
Word.
Pumpkin spice season is coming, and it's coming strong.
I usually get one like the weekend they come out, and then I wait until it gets cold and feels like fall before I get another. Because all right, I got it. It doesn't feel like fall, but I'm drinking one, and then I wait for it.
No shame there. No shame there. I think when they come out this year, I'm going to start decorating for Christmas. Because we all need a little Christmas, don't you?
Me too. I've been thinking about that this whole summer.
Yeah. We'll let pumpkin spice lattes launch fall and Christmas at the same time, and we'll just enjoy it all for the next 4 months.
I like it.
It's my plan, at least.
All right. Well, Beth, let's dive into this. We are now entering the spoiler zone. So
spoilers.
Hit us with that summary.
I also love that we were warning about spoilers when this movie is still quite old, but
we had somebody on that last week that they had never seen any of them, so here we go.
It's very true. Yeah. There's always a first timer out there, and it's exciting to welcome you to the Ocean's crew.
Oh, I know. They're so good.
So Ocean's 12 is a sequel to Ocean's 11, if you haven't figured that out. We find that Terry Benedict, even though insurance covered all the money that was stolen from him in the first movie, he wants some revenge. He's not happy about the fact that he was robbed. And so he is demanding that the Ocean's 11 group pay back all of his money plus interest, which is an exorbitant amount of money. They calculated it up, and they all owe somewhere around $19 million apiece with his interest fees. So they have to take on a few more jobs in order to make this happen. While they're in the middle of trying to do some jobs in Europe, there's this famous French thief named the Night Fox who keeps thwarting them, and it's super frustrating. And They don't know why he's after them. Lo and behold, someone had told him that the Ocean's 11 crew was the best group of thieves there was. And he didn't like that because he thinks he's the best. And so the only way to settle it is if they go after the same object. And he tells Danny Ocean, if you guys agree to this, then I will pay back, and you win, I will pay Benedict, Terry Benedict, all the money you owe him. So obviously they take it. They have a lot to lose. They go for it. So we are once again sent on this elaborate set of cons through Europe as they are trying to get all this money and to outdo the Night Fox. Meanwhile, we find out that Rusty's ex-girlfriend Isabel is a detective, and she is hot on their trails. And not only is she a detective, but her dad used to be a major thief, and so she knows all the tricks, and she's pretty slick, and starts arresting the crew little by little. Finally, we're down to a small handful of people that include Basher, Linus, Saul, and Turk, which is one of the brothers, in case you didn't know. They don't have enough people to pull off this con, so they end up pulling in Danny Ocean's wife, Tess, and they try to rob the object that was set out before them, a golden egg in a museum in broad daylight. They fail. They're caught by Isabel, but just as she's arresting them, she gets called out for forging a 1077 signature on a 1077 form, and so another investigator takes over. In the middle of interrogations, we find out that it's Linus's mother, and she's there to spring the whole crew. So they let the Night Fox gloat in his victory for a few minutes before Danny and Tess reveal to him that they actually bested him, and he's got to pay up. So the movie wraps up with Terry Benedict getting all of his money, the Night Fox realizing who's truly the best, and the Ocean's 11, now 12, crew celebrating their victory and enjoying their spoils.
Did you mention it was 3.5 years later?
No, it's not 3.5 years later.
Oh, wait. That's right. They flashed back before. Okay, that's right. I forgot about that. How much time is it? Is it just like
3? I think it's 3 years later.
Oh, it is.
I think they say it's 3 years later.
I mean, Rusty was dating Isabel 3.5 years prior to this con happening. But I don't know that Terry Benedict would have waited that long for revenge. But maybe he would have. Insurance takes a while.
Well, it's not that he wanted to wait that long. They reveal later.
The guy called him.
Yeah. He tipped him off. So.
I'm pretty sure they say 3 years ago. Now, I noted it because I looked to see the difference in time between the two movies, which is 3 years.
3 years,
so they kept it in the same time.
That
But I'm pretty sure there's now, because I noted it was half a year after. I noted that the con in the first one must have taken place like 6 months, half a year, whatever, after Rusty and leaves Izzy and wherever they were.
Mm-hmm.
Paris?
Amsterdam?
Well, they
Somewhere
talked
in
about
Europe. Leave her in Amsterdam.
going to Amsterdam after. I can't remember.
Somewhere in Europe.
Somewhere in Europe.
Not in the Great.
That's good enough, right?
Yeah.
In that 3 to 6 month time frame, they were somewhere in Europe.
3 to 6 months later. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I love how back to the first one, how they say like 3 to 6 months later, like his prison sentence or whatever, instead of the exact amount of time. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about 12. Gosh, John, get with it. Pillow on me.
So, thoughts on 12? Initial thoughts.
Initially, I love it. I love the first one. I have a well, I'll get into it in a second. I have a story to tell, but Beth, what is yours?
I liked it. I didn't love it as much as the first one, but I liked it.
Kinley?
It's not as good as the first one, but I still love this movie. It's a good one. It's good. It takes a different twist. So
It does. It does. It's fun to see like thieves against thieves because things get really interesting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Carson, what did you think?
He says, "Look at my face."
He doesn't seem amused.
My rating. I am not
amused.
impressed.
He didn't make it through the movie, so.
Yeah, he didn't. He fell asleep before halfway through. But anyway, so I loved this movie when it came out. I watched it a ton. I probably watched it a little more than the first one. And so much so, I loved the scene with the, which we'll get into it later, but like the laser scene when Night Fox is dancing on the lasers, and that song that they played, I thought was such an awesome song. And for Christmas that year, Mom bought me the album, the CD, because we didn't really do streaming services or iTunes then, just had CDs, and because she knew I wanted that song. And it was the only song in the movie that was not on the album. Because they didn't get the rights or something, I don't know, but they did not put it on the album. And so I listened to the whole soundtrack that day, like Christmas Day, and was like, maybe it's the last track. I haven't heard it yet. It wasn't any of them. And I was so sad. I was like,
oh, the tragedy.
So, and then I told Mom, and she's like, that was the whole reason I bought it for you, because you like that song. I'm like, oh no. But that's okay.
That's sad.
It's okay. You can listen to it on Spotify now, the single of the song. It's a French name, so I can't tell you what it is. I don't even know.
What a mystery.
Cool story, huh?
Yeah.
So,
well, go ahead, Beth.
oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just going to ask, if you had that kind of cash from the first movie, which one of these thieves would you be like? Would you have spent all of it? Would you have saved all of it?
Oh, to be living with my mom and dad still.
What do you say, working on character development or something? Yeah. What's my favorite? I feel like I would be like one of the ones in the middle, like spent about half of it, save the other half.
You would have spent half in 3 years?
Yeah.
Living large. I like it.
I would have to live 3 years with 13 million, and I'll get back with you.
Once again, I find myself channeling Saul here, and his you never find out how much he spent. His quote is, "I haven't spent it all, but I'm going to," and that's when he leaves and initially doesn't want to take part. But that's where I wouldn't have spent it all, but I would have planned out what I was going to do with every bit of that money. That would be my goal.
I love his quote where he says, "I want my last check to bounce."
Yeah.
To bounce. And then takes a tablet for his ulcers while he's talking about it,
Yes. I think I would have been more like Ruben. I would have invested.
That's one of my favorite quotes is Ruben's when he says he has that kind of, they ask who still got it, and he said he did. He said, "You think investing in the stock market is difficult," or something like that. The way he puts it, like, it's just funny. Like, of course, like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you invest this money and get like triple the amount,
Yeah.
He is always their bankroller. I would love to know how much money Ruben had to start off with before he.
You see his house before even 11 starts, or before they do their heist in 11. It's like, dang, dude, what are you doing?
Well, he had a casino that went awry, but he's the bankroller, so it's very interesting to me as to like how much is he worth? I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Well, and not just to give a little, forward towards 13. That's a very big part of 13. So we're going to get to diagnose that, which I'm excited about.
Indeed.
So that would be good. Yeah. So we had some big guest stars in this movie.
We sure did.
Throughout. We had Topher Grace again as himself at the very beginning. Just a little cameo from the first one. I don't know if you all caught that in the hotel room when Brad Pitt, when Rusty goes at the very beginning as what's the bad guy's name from the first one? Terry Benedict is tracking everybody down. When it's time to track down Rusty goes in the hotel room, and it's been trashed by this actor, and it's Topher Grace again as himself. We've got Robbie Coltrane as Matsu, which is Hagrid from Harry Potter. How exciting!
Oh yeah,
right?
I forgot.
I was like, yeah, it was just hard for me to watch him without thinking like, Hagrid. And then Bruce Willis as himself, which is spectacular.
I love
that part.
She was not expecting.
That's a great part. I love that whole interaction And then we've got Albert Finney as Lamarck at the very end. He's a very big actor. He was actually unaccredited in this movie, so he just kind of had a little guest role at the end. And then Jared Harris has a little cameo. I don't know if you know who he is. He plays Moriarty in the Johnny Depp Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
He's the son of the original Dumbledore, and he just had a little cameo in this one. So, and of course plays King George in The Crown as well. And then of course Catherine Zeta-Jones as Isabel, big role in this movie, and she did an incredible job in my little old opinion.
On top of all that, all of the main casts, all 12,
All
insane how many people they have on this. Do they do, Kinley, I don't know if you deep dive this or not, but did they do like what they did in the first one where they all took pay cuts? I can't talk, in order to have everybody in it.
So I didn't find that exactly, but I found out that the director, Stephen, something with an S. Anyway, he, not Spielberg, different Stephen. He requested and demanded that this movie have the same budget as Ocean's 11.
Really?
He wanted to do the same thing with 12 that he did with 11 with the same budget. So I'm assuming that the actors and to get them all back, like that's no small task. 3 years later, we're not talking about signing up for a trilogy, at the beginning. They didn't sign contracts for 2 movies, to get them all back. I think they did. I would assume that, because they had the same budget. But I thought that was very interesting, just as a point of integrity. He just kind of wanted to have the same budget to show that that's something they could do. So
yeah, that is interesting. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet they made even more profit.
They made a lot of money.
I love, while we're talking about like the guest stars, I love the fact that they have Tess, who is played by Julia Roberts, and playing Julia Roberts. And they're like, you look nothing like her.
Yeah, we were just
great.
talking about that before we got on. We're like, so Julia Roberts plays a character portraying Julia Roberts, who is told by others that she does not look like Julia Roberts. It's just amazing.
So I did a little deep dive on this because they make her look like she's pregnant during this, because at that time Julia Roberts was pregnant, but of course she's Julia Roberts playing herself. She had just found out she was pregnant, and by the time the movie was coming out, it would be around the time she'd be 8 months pregnant, which is what they tried to make her look like.
Whoa!
So they brought that one in. So she gave birth in 2004, around just around the time this movie.
They wouldn't have even,
came
they could have
out.
just left out the pregnancy and people would have understood. But the fact that they went like above and beyond to do that is crazy.
I'm telling
I
you,
love
crazy.
And
Yeah.
then Bruce Willis is like, you're not supposed to fly 8 months pregnant.
They're like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
That whole phone call was hilarious, where she's talking to herself, and she recorded. That's her. She recorded herself
I think
on the other
it
line.
probably was.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Such a good moment. Mm.
That scene in particular, for a number of reasons, but then that's where Saul makes his appearance. So we've got Saul. He feels like he's too old for the game. They've got to get money to pay Terry back. Like Beth said, he comes back at the end, but most of the middle he's kind of missing. You have one scene where we get to see his girlfriend. Is this the woman that works at the delicates counter at Macy's? Is this her? Or the unmentionable counter, I guess.
Oh, man.
I don't know. So, but he makes his grand appearance as her physician, the doctor, and he just shows up out of nowhere, and it instantly puts a smile on my face, and I enjoyed that.
I love in this movie that he has a completely different accent and he sticks with it throughout the movie. Like he's in, when they first find him, and he's in Terry Benedict first finds him, and he's in the club, and it's obviously very highfalutin, and he has like this really proper accent, and he just sticks with this accent the whole way through, which is much different than the accent he used in the first movie.
Well, and everything you think about Rusty going in and finding him in the first movie at the dog track, he's in khakis, he's in a khaki windbreaker with, I call it Wilson hat from Home Improvement, one of those flap hats, kind of khaki, you know. He's just, you know, retired, living his best life, casual. And, you know, it's completely different. The way he acts, the way he talks, the way he dresses is just, he's embraced the new lifestyle, you know.
Yeah.
Your
So
spirit
good
animal.
stuff.
So,
Yeah.
which Khan was your favorite in this movie? Don't go all at once.
Which Khan was your favorite?
Yeah, you started off.
I really liked. Well, like I said, I like the laser scene where he's stealing the egg, but I don't know if that counts as a con. I don't know, but I really liked the where they at the very end of the movie where they show the real egg being switched in the train, and they have the Yankees and the Red Sox fight in the train.
Yes.
I love that. So
That's
maybe
funny.
that.
I love like going off of that one. We have this huge elaborate con that involves a lot of people and work and all of that. And then at the end of the movie, they revealed that that was all fake. That really the con was super easy, and it was really just a matter of a sleight of hand. It was just a matter of a pickpocket.
Not only was it fake, they never. Well, I guess they did get to perform it. Never mind. I was gonna say they didn't get to perform it like they thought they were going to, but
They had to readjust.
yeah.
So my thought, I'm going to tell you mine in a minute, but on this, my thought, I wonder which of the 11, were all the 11 in on this the whole time? Or was it Linus, Danny, and Rusty?
I think they were in it because there's that scene in the jail where they're making wagers as to whether or not he can pull it off.
That's true, and they never acted surprised.
And his mom
Yeah.
was in the know. His mom was in the know when she comes to rescue him. It wasn't like she just happened to have found out. Like he had called her and she had told his father.
And at the very end, when they're all like coming into that place to play poker, like they all came in, like it kind of looked like they all knew, like, oh yeah, we did it, we knew this whole time. It had that feel, that vibe, that they all kind of were in on it.
Which makes it spectacular then that they were going to stage the original egg robbery, which didn't happen, but with the main group, -3, because they'd been seen, you know, and they get arrested day of, right outside the museum, knowing that they've already got the real egg. At this point, they already have it, but they're going to, you know, still plan on stealing this one because they've got to make that happen. They got to make it look like that. And then you think about the meeting they had, how seriously they're taking it. That's what I love about it. Like, even though they already have the egg in hand, sitting in a backpack next to them in this room, they're taking it really seriously to try and you know, it's still part of the con. It's not the most important part's done, but it's still an important part of the con. I love that. And I think, I don't know, I think they got arrested wasn't necessarily part of the plan. But because Linus's mom comes in and busts him out, and that is my favorite con. Her impersonating the FBI agent and then being his mother. I love that. I love that play. But I think up until then, everybody knew everything. It was planned out, and I love that. That's good writing right there. Spectacular writing.
Yeah, that was really
But
good.
again, the biggest con I think here is the con they pulled over on the audience once again in a completely different way. And I think this time you think something's not going to be the same at the end. Like you expect something different, but you are not thinking they've had the egg the whole time, you know, because you saw everything they did to try and get the egg, you know? Anyway.
You have no reason to suspect it. I think Jennifer said her favorite was the Looky Loo with the bundle of joy. And they also gave the, Linus's, before they decide that's what they're going to do, he's naming off a bunch more of concepts too. And we didn't know, did you happen to look those up?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. Let me see if I can find them.
Yeah.
It was funny though. They listed all those, and I love that. Like they're like run through them again. Like they'd already run through it, And they list them all. And the reason for every one of them, not enough people, not enough people, not enough people. I'm like, that hasn't changed. I love how they're like trying to pull it up again. You know, that hasn't changed.
I love how they're both like, or he's like, you know how Tez kind of looks like, yeah. So what? So what of it? Like they both kind of.
Yeah.
They never say Julia Roberts. The only time you see Julia Roberts is on the subtitles when the guy says in French, Julia Roberts is coming. You know, he says it in French. And then they say Julia, but that's the only time you see Julia Roberts. I think that's a nice little touch.
It's so great.
It's great.
I loved the first con that they pulled off in this movie where the guy's house was impossible to rob and he had never left his house in 10 years. And so they raised the entire foundation of his house so that they could rob him. Although, unfortunately, they get in and find out they've been bested by the Night Fox. But it was still like the thought that they raised the foundation of his house to rob him was pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy. Yeah. I love that. That was something Isabel had told Rusty years before about that guy raising it. And that's how, like, and I think he definitely did that on purpose. I think he definitely did it to try and get her attention there.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
I also love that they robbed the Night Fox, but then later tell him exactly where his paintings are, but he already knows.
Okay, so I was gonna bring that up. Like, what is the story of like how did he know the code to get the paintings back?
He's just really good.
Like I know that I mean I kind of asked that rhetorically, but I want to know is what I'm saying. Like, how? I want the backstory because he said that's enough. Or I told you one story tonight. I'm like, oh, let's go back another night and ask him. I want to know. So
They love to leave you hanging, just like the first one in Believe.
they do that.
Mm-hmm. They always have one thing in there that they don't explain well that drives you crazy. They just want to keep you guessing.
Oh yeah.
So after thinking through all of this, one of the thoughts that I had earlier was I feel like getting arrested was part of the con. Because if you think about it, Lamarck was the one who told them about the egg, and he wanted to see his daughter, but he couldn't contact her. And so I bet that was part of his willingness to help them was he wanted a meetup with his daughter. And so they decided to keep her involved as much as possible at that point.
Good theory.
So I think it might have been a part of the plan for them to get arrested the first round, but I don't know if it was a part of the plan for Tess and Linus and Saul and whoever else, Basher, and then the other guy to get arrested, only because going back to his mom having to come and break him out. Like that, when they talk in the car, that was clearly something like he had to arrange. But he may have known. I don't know.
Did he do it? Because, I mean, it was pretty impossible. They knew they couldn't do it in broad daylight.
But they've all had to be adaptions, though, of a plan. So even if it was planned, it wasn't like the original plan. Because when they talk to Lamarck, because when they talk to Lamarck, he says he's going to have cameras on you the whole time. So at that point, they know he's going to have cameras. So I think for that first round, like they knew they were going to get the names of everybody. There was going to be a level of, a group of them getting arrested. But they still seem like they're scrambling to get Tess. So even I feel like that could have been something they needed to line up ahead of time, or they would have known what to do. If they knew they were going to get arrested, they had to have a moving forward point. So I go back and forth on it.
Yeah. Which also makes you question again, were they in on it? Because if they were, why would they freak out about bringing Tez in, and like that whole situation? So I don't know. Who knows? What was your favorite line?
Oh, mine is at the very beginning when Danny Ocean is talking to the hotel person and finding out about his safe. And he's definitely asking questions because you can tell he's got the itch to rob stuff again. But he says, I was once in a safe, and I was once in a vault while it was being robbed.
Yeah. And the guy is like, that must have been very interesting or something like that.
I just loved like how he was just so nonchalant about it while he was the one robbing the vault.
Yeah. It's such a funny way to say it. I love it.
Yeah. Use it from now on.
I liked, well, there were two I liked. One was I really liked the whole part with Linus and Rusty in the airplane when Linus is asking for leadership roles and he's like, I couldn't tell if you were asleep. But at the very end of the conversation when he's like, I almost didn't come over. He says, and I would have still been sleeping. That was so funny. And then,
I love how Rusty always has a way of sounding polite, but always shutting Linus down. It's so great.
And then again with Linus and Rusty, another favorite line was just the whole Matsui scene when Linus is like, oh, how the sun beats down or whatever. I'm
On my face.
on my face.
Yeah.
I'm a traveler of both space and time. And they're just like, oh my gosh, what did he say? And at the end, he's just like, what? Well, I don't get, what did I say? You called his niece a whore, a cheap one, and she's 7.
I love how they don't reference that again till the end. Like, yeah, that was a prank. Like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
come on, you know.
And
That's
his mom thought
actually-
it was funny.
Yeah, his mom thought it was funny. That's where my favorite line comes from. It's Mitsui. He says, I wrote down, when I was 4 years old,
Oh, yes.
I watched my mother kill a spider with a tea cozy. Years later, I realized it was not a spider. It was my Uncle Harold.
It was my uncle.
And they just all look. They're like, oh,
Like,
yes.
oh.
yes.
Hmm.
Um,
And then I can't remember what was it. I don't, whatever Danny said is like at the very end. He says like one last part of his line, and Rusty goes, yes. Like it was like what that last bit that he said made Rusty go, oh yeah. Just
where
laughing
is it?
so hard. Are you looking at the script?
Yes. Okay, I found it.
Oh, please tell me.
If all the animals along the equator were capable of flattery, then Thanksgiving and Halloween would fall on the same day.
That's what it was. He's like, yes.
That's so good. I love how much they prank Linus. He's so eager. He's so eager to prove himself, and they just have so much fun at his expense.
That
Yes.
was a good time. Linus just wanted to be in a leadership role, and he got to be, you know? He got to be. I actually read a funny fact, a fun fact. Matt Damon had just finished shooting, I guess it was the first Jason Bourne movie,
Mhm.
and he was exhausted and just felt like he couldn't give this movie a whole lot. And so he asked for Linus to have a smaller role.
Mm.
And the director said no. He felt like Linus was really important. And it was really funny that Matt Damon asked for a smaller role and Linus asked for a larger role, like in this movie, you know?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So anyway,
I was going to say something, but I think I said it in the last episode. But I guess I could say it again. Was just how funny it is to see him play like this character when like Jason Bourne, he's like the lead role, like awesome person that you want to be, and then you go to this, and it's like, what the heck happened? You gotta start somewhere.
you got to
That's
start
right.
somewhere.
He's working his way up the
Started-
ladder.
That's right. Started from the bottom. Now he's here.
Yeah.
Right?
Now he's here.
Now
Not
he's here.
necessarily the top, but he's here.
He's somewhere.
Somewhere other than the bottom.
Beth, I didn't. The next question you said was when all was said and done, would you trust the detective? Which detective are you talking about?
Isabel, when Rusty
Oh,
brings her in, after she's arrested everyone, first of all, she knows they're all thieves. And her father was a thief. And she's been on this quest to like put all the thieves in jail. I feel like it was probably her attempt to try to find her father. Because she wasn't sure if he was dead or not. But then after they've been arrested by her and Rusty brings her into the party, they're all like, okay. Would
I feel like I would trust her if I knew the fact that her father was Lamarck. If I didn't know that, and I don't know, even if Rusty brought her in, I would be like, I don't know. But if I knew all the facts, I probably would trust her. So that's my answer.
I think I don't know. It's a good theory, Beth. They drop these little hints that she's a thief at heart throughout. Like she steals
Right.
his phone, she
Mhm.
forges the signature on the document. Like you see, like at the root, it's in her blood.
Yes.
And so I think that like it's willing out. It's like kind of even nature versus nurture. And I think here her nature is just busting out the seams. And I think you see her the way she's been raised and is just kind of being overshadowed by who she is. And so at the end, she fully embraces it and goes into the den of thieves, shall we say, with Ocean's 12, you know?
Well stated. Well stated.
I also read the fake wake up call was one of like, I thought that was hilarious when the guy calls, like
He's
George
sneaky.
Clooney, like knocks on the door. Yeah. Oh. I just loved it. Like that seems like such a childish thing to do. And I love that they just, you know, on a big, like stealing this golden egg and he just gets him up early. But I read that was a prank that George Clooney and Brad Pitt played on Julia Roberts while they were filming Ocean's 11. They would do that to her.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
The
Yeah.
worst. I would unplug my phone.
I just read it is confirmed it was 3 years later. Just to let you know.
3 years later.
I really love the fact that it was a childish prank, but Rusty was like, oh, that's so mean. Like, nobody's worrying about how much they're stealing or how much money is, you know, changing their hands. They're worried about the fact that he did a prank
Wake
phone
up.
call. Yeah.
That's funny. I think it was oh, go ahead, John.
No, it's unrelated. It's a change of subject. Go ahead.
Well, I just thought it was very interesting. You have that scene when they're getting ready for the first con, and Linus is having this like crisis of character because the guy has that phobia of like going outside, and he hasn't left his house in 10 years since he moved in. And he's like, "Am I the only person that feels bad about this?" And everybody's like, "Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like you're it, you know." And they're just
Am I
like,
the only person who feels bad about stealing from a handicapped guy?
yeah.
Like you hear one voice, I don't know who it says I don't have a problem with it.
There was another, what was it? There was another one of those. They had a few of those where they're in the hotel room and someone asks a question, you just hear all these different voices. Ruben says, "Who's on the $100 bill?" And they just say all these different names. And he's like, yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
But
that
one of them, there was one that was not, it was so off the wall. I should have written it down. I'm going to try and find it. It
One of
was
them
really
said
funny.
Adams, and yeah.
There's like this whole list of like goofs like that they messed up on in the movie that I came across. But one of them I was going to share was when Danny is briefing his guys on the Night Fox's history, Yin asks a question in Mandarin. However, at this time, he's supposed to still be trapped inside the suitcase. So how is he at this meeting?
Oops.
A continuity error. And by the way, me and Jennifer were talking about how funny it is that everybody just seems to understand what he's saying.
That's always.
Oh yeah,
They only talk to him in English, and he only like speaks Mandarin back to them, but they all understand what he's saying.
I love that one. And the first one they give, like they're like, well, da da da, and you always know the question he's asking from their answer. But I don't know if you noticed in this one, a few times it's like they can't hear him. Something's too loud. They'll say, "What did you say?" Like they added that in 4 or 5 times, and I think it was to try and trick the audience, as in they were going to change it up. He's like, "Oh yeah, they don't understand him," and then they're like, "Oh yeah, you know,
Yeah.
go on and say it." I thought that was good.
I love it. I also love that poor Yen always gets stuck in some sort of device, like
Right.
the cart, the suitcase. He gets left.
The purpose
About-
of him getting trapped in the duffel bag, anyways.
Jennifer was asking what was the purpose of him being in the duffel bag. I mean, it was just their way of them all getting to the next country, I guess, like without it all being suspicious. I don't think it was very clear.
They're trying to conceal, like, probably they didn't want anybody to see his face.
Yeah. And what I don't understand is why they put him in the angle that they put him in, like head down when he's on the wheels. I was like, that's got to be so uncomfortable. And they put all the snacks by his head, but they like picked it up, and it's like everything would slide down. Like that's just terrible. Yeah.
They definitely like dropped him quite a few times. I was like, oh, that would hurt. I would be in so much pain if I was in that little suitcase.
Oh yeah. I was wondering when he gets out and he's jumping on the bed. Was he jumping on the bed because A, he was just glad to finally have freedom of moving his limbs, or is it B, because he had a sugar high from eating all the snacks, or possibly both? I don't know. Because you see all the wrappers right that were eaten right before he's on the bed. So I didn't know if that was like trying to get you to be like, oh, he ate them all and he's going crazy hyper now. So
I think it was a sugar high, personally.
and like Danny keeps trying to he's like about to say something. He's like, just decides not.
Not worth it.
Oh, wait till you calm down.
Yeah. It was out of the questions. I'm off that page.
Oh, so at the end of the movie, what do you think of the Night Fox? Do you like him? Do you not like him? Is he a good thief? Is he not?
I love him, and I think he is a good thief.
You love him as a person?
Well, not like that.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I know what you mean. Yeah, I think I just think he's an awesome character. I really do. I mean, I don't like what he did to the Ocean's 11. How he just stirred the pot for no reason just because of his ego. But I don't know. I just like his persona and just how he goes about things and how he's a one-man show doing things. I just really like that.
I think he is a whiny little butt, and it just drives me crazy. Like, I think he's a great thief, and I think in this movie, he does a really good job at what he does. But I just keep thinking, like, I think you're supposed to see him next to the Ocean's gang, and you just see this team working together, like, I can't say doing it for the right reasons because they're robbing money, but I keep going. I'm like, I can't believe this guy is just so insecure. He did all of this. Like, that's what it's motivated from, just his insecurity. And I think that's what bugs me the most. I do love, like we talked about earlier, there's that line, and he knows where his paintings were and the vault or the, safe combination. I want to know that so bad. I think he's an awesome thief because he can get it. But I just think the whole reason we even had to do this was because he's just has some insecurity issues and probably needs therapy. So,
yeah.
Well, and he broke rule number 1. That to me is unforgivable. I feel like some serious revenge should have happened.
You should not have broken that.
mm-mm.
But I did, right when you said not really doing it for the right reasons, it just reminds me that these movies are about bad guys.
I know.
They're stealing from innocent people that have nothing wrong with them in any way. They just have their valuables stored somewhere, and they decide, let's steal from them, and they get away with it. But you cheer for them.
It's really funny.
We do. We cheer for them.
You do.
You
There
do.
you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
She had one more on there. If you were Terry, I almost said Perry. If you were Terry Benedict, would you be satisfied with the check, or would you want more revenge? I mean, if it was me, I don't think I'd want any more revenge. I think the interest is revenge enough. I feel like that was his way, because he was the one who decided how much interest it was. I felt like it was his level of how much revenge he felt like he deserved, and he got it. So he gave him the number, and he got the number. On top of his insurance already covered his original loss. So I feel like he would be even, or I would call it even.
I feel like that was a break in his character, that he was satisfied with the check. Because if you remember back in the first movie, Ruben warns them, if you cross him and he catches you, he comes after you and anyone you know, and he will completely destroy you. So I thought it was shocking that he was okay with money. Because he seems like the kind of guy who would need some blood and bones broken to be fully satisfied.
Whoa.
I think it's just interesting that he gets his money back. Like I that's the only thing about this movie, that the whole first movie is just built on Terry losing his money. And I hate that they kind of gave it back to him in the end. However, I think they try and fix that when Ruben's talking to him, say, if anybody, God forbid, if anybody steals from you again, it won't be us. And you see the Night Fox in the background. So I'm like, I feel like Terry's going to lose his money again, which I'm good with, you know.
Yeah.
But I think he should be satisfied because Homeboy ended up with double. I mean, he got an additional, I mean, he got insurance money, got what he wanted back, and plus
interest.
Whatever. Interest, yeah. So he got a lot from this. I would love to be robbed like that all day, every day.
He already had, they mentioned in the first movie, he had $750 million was what his net worth was. So that on top of all the money he just got, he's probably at a bill at that point.
Yeah.
A bill.
The only bill we have is George Washington.
We got a few A's.
Yeah,
Got a
I just
few
thought that was
A's.
interesting. I just feel like it was a break in his character that he took the money so easily and didn't want more. In other ways, like I think financially, yes, he got what he wanted, but I just feel like his revenge was not done there.
But the question is, if you were him, would you want more revenge?
I don't know if he would have time for more revenge. He's being pretty busy.
You always have time for revenge.
He's juggling a lot of plates.
Oh, goodness. All righty. Anything else before we drop our reviews?
I'm hung up on that name that someone said who was on the $100 bill. So I'm currently trying to find that. But we can give the review and hopefully I'll find it before then.
Okay.
I'm mad.
We'll let you go last then, since you're looking.
Okay.
I'm not.
Beth, what was your crew review of Ocean's 12?
A 7.
A 7.
7.
Okay.
She went down.
I went down as well from the first one. I gave a 9.5. This one I'm giving an 8.5. Still absolutely love it. I just like the first one a little more. Like I said, I was obsessed with this one when it first came out, but like after I've seen all 4 of the films in retrospect, the first one is the absolute best in my opinion.
I think part of the factor is that they're having to. Terry is the one who wins in this movie, and it's like the Ocean crew doesn't walk away with any extra cash.
That is a little sad.
And we've got Rusty, who's $25 million in the hole.
Poor Rusty.
And Jennifer, your rating?
8. Solid.
Solid 8.
8 even.
All right, Kinley.
I also gave this movie an 8. I love it. Went down a little bit, but still a great movie. Ashley gave this movie a 5. And I am not okay with that.
Ooh, what was her
Did he
reasoning?
watch the same movie as you?
We watched the same thing. I don't know what happened.
Is that why she didn't want to be
Yeah,
on
so
here?
much
She didn't
fun.
want to tell us to our face. Ashley,
Well,
I know you can hear me. Oh, wait, you got headphones then. Never mind.
She does not feel good, and she doesn't feel good when we were watching it. I think that's it. I think it was the sickness.
The
It wasn't
movie made her sick. Is that what you're
It's the
saying?
ill. No, this movie made her feel better, but she didn't realize anything good. So there you go.
You guys don't give me
So-
this much crap when I give things a 4.
Well,
Ashley
because
said
we
I
already
give it a
did.
5.
Go back and listen to the previous episodes at the beginning, and you'll hear how much crap we give you about your ratings. We just expect it now.
Are you saying you want us to give you crap for low ratings? You want us?
Sounds
No,
like
I'm
he was a
saying
little
Ashley
jealous.
should be entitled to her 5.
I don't know. Any other movie, maybe, but not the Ocean's movies. This is dangerous territory.
I mean, I see it. Like it did fall a little flat for me, which is why I went
It wasn't.
down.
It definitely wasn't as good, but that gives our overall crew review rating a 7.3 for Ocean's 12.
Okay.
So, but I did find a quote to end our evening of Ocean's 12, our day of Ocean's 12, if anybody's curious.
Hit it.
They were, Ruben asks who is on $100 bill. Some say Grant, some say Jefferson, and one person says John Travolta. So there you go. It
Love
was
it.
worth
That
it for
guy.
me. I hope it was worth it for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. He says, right, that guy.
Right, Carson?
Mm.
All right. Kinley, you want to close us out?
I will. All right. Until next time, we go big tonight.